What's going on, guys? It's Jaden from East Coast Garage. So today we're going to be doing an axle replacement on the 535i. The xDrives are very notorious for the CV boot tearing and debris getting in there, really screwing up your CV joint. If you can catch it early enough, you can actually just replace the boot instead of having to replace the whole axle, but mine's been broken for a decent amount of time. So every time we turn the wheel, it goes tick, 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 tick. While we're in there, we're going to lose a little bit of diff fluid when we take our old axle out, so we wanted to go through and make sure that we got new diff fluid and just going to do a full diff fluid flush. We got everything from FCP Euro in Milford. The axle itself was about $300, the diff fluid and the drain plugs were about $50, and then the Axel Bolt was about $13. So basically we're going to have to take apart the wheel and rotor assembly, remove it from the strut, maybe take a few control arms off, and then the axle should pull right out. Put the new one in, and then we'll do a diff fluid flush. So stay tuned. So before we take the caliper off, we're going to loosen our axle bolt. You're going to have someone step on the brake before you loosen it.
So on the back side of this caliper, there's two bolts that hold it on, and right now it just has a whole bunch of grease on it from the CV joint. So I'm just going to take a wire brush some of the grease off, and then try to figure out what size it is.
So we're going to buzz off the two 18 millimeters on the back of the caliper.
Your caliper says 666. Illuminati.
So we put the caliper on a jack stand so that we don't crimp any of our lines. And now we're going to proceed to take the rotor off. Now we're going to take our axle bolt all the way off.
So now what you want to do is loosen this bolt right here so you can take your rotor off. Once that's off, carefully just take off your rotor and set it to the side. Next, we're going to take off the four 10mm bolts for the heat shield located right here, 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 and here.
Next, we're going to remove the plastic and aluminum underbody on the car. So next we want to disconnect the lower control arm. We have a 22mm nut and a 18mm bolt.
So let me spell it out real clear. Keep chasing even when it's near. Yeah, we never give up. And I know that it's tough. But tell me what you want to see, even if it takes long. 'Cause you can make these moves with me. Across the lines once strong. Yeah, I guess it's growing up.
So now we have a 21mm socket and a 21mm wrench, and we're going to take out the opposite bolt on this control arm that links to our strut. So next we're going to crack the axle off the differential. We're just using a mallet and a pry tool. So now we're going to start to put our new axle in. We're just going to feed her. We're going to feed it up. So we just got our axle back in. We're actually having our whole hub assembly held up by a jack stand. Once we got it lined up, we straightened it out, put it through the strut bars, and then tapped it in with a mallet. Now we can start to put everything back together. Before we reassemble everything, we're going to drain all the diff fluid out and refill it. This is completely optional. You can just top it off as you lost a little when you took your axle out. Our drain plug's right here, which is really easy to access. However, our fill plug is all the way up here. And we already cranked it loose. So what we did is we took our wobble and put our 14mm hex on and fed it right next to where the axle is, all the way back.
You can fit a wobble extension through this slot right here where you put your new axle in and reach the fill plug for the differential fluid.
So now we're going to put a new drain plug in. And we want to torque it down to 44 foot-pounds. Now we're going to take our fill plug out. Now we're going to feed our siphon hose in, and we're going to fill it until it overflows. So we just put our new fill plug back in, and now we're going to start to put everything back together. So first we're going to put the axle back into the hub. We kind of got to walk everything back in. Alright, push this in. You go to the left a little. And then I need a 21 mil on the end of it. Actually, no I don't. So now we're just going to put all our control arms back together. So now we're going to tighten up all of our control arms, and then we'll put the hub and axle bolt in. So we just put our axle bolt back in, and now we're going to put the heat shield on, and then once we put the heat shield we can put the rotor, caliper, torque the axle bolt down to spec, and then we should be good. So we just put everything back together. Now we're going to torque down our axle bolt. Carter's stepping on the brake, and we're going to torque it down to 210 Newton meters or 150 foot-pounds. And then after that we're going to go 90 degrees past. So we just finished our axle replacement on the 535. The hardest part actually might have been putting this new fill plug on the differential. So basically, to get the fill plug back in, you have to put the bolt in between your fingers like this, and it's very thin. So you have to go in between the motor mount and the differential and then spin it on with 2 fingers. This actually took about an hour to do, so that might have been one of the hardest parts of this whole job. We didn't get to doing the rear diff fluid change. I figured it'd probably be better if we made a separate video anyways. We're actually going to have to suck the diff fluid out of the rear differential before putting it in. There is no drain plug, so that's going to be a little bit of a process, but please be sure to like and subscribe. It's the only way we can keep getting these videos coming to you guys. I hope that video was pretty helpful. We're actually going to be doing a giveaway pretty soon. I'm going to keep you guys updated on that. Make sure to follow ecg.usa on Instagram. There'll be plenty of updates on there. We're hoping to do a cash giveaway or maybe some really good products. When I was looking on YouTube to see who might have done this video already, I didn't find anything that was super helpful, so I hope this really helps some of you out there. I would say this is the easiest way to do it. Some other people do different ways. You can see various videos on YouTube, but I would definitely say that is the easiest way to do it. I will leave a link in the description to find all of these parts. I'm not quite sure if it's the exact same process for the F30 or the F10 pre-LCI, but you might want to do your research on that. By the way, differential fluid smells horrible, so make sure that you have proper ventilation when you're changing your diff fluid. I'll leave a link to the online store in the description below. Be sure to check it out. We have some great deals going on right now. We're doing 40% off on all products store-wide until the holidays. You guys can actually pick up Ultimate Wheel Cleaner for under $9, so please be sure to check it out. All of the products are on sale for 40% off. Yeah, so thanks for watching.